look for that internal, system that you can use to resolve your internal party issues?
Well, as I said, it's all out of selfishness. Because if the party is supposed to fix what is wrong internally, in the absence of having done or conducted congresses from the ward right up, the only other people that you can rely on to take decision on behalf of the party and choose leaders are delegates that are qualified to do that. And who are these delegates? The delegates are members of the National Assembly, that's senators, members of the House of Representatives of Labour Party, members of states, houses of assembly, and the one governor we have and his deputy. And these are the people that came together to decide that henceforth we want to have a caretaker committee saddled with the responsibility of going to organize congresses right from the ward to national convention so that new leaders will emerge. I cannot emerge as chairman because I can't succeed. I'm just, Senator Darlington and I, what we are told to do is just go and organize the party, let it have structure. Right. If you remember, when His Excellency Peter Obi was contesting to be president, most people kept saying that Labour Party has no structure, Okay, we want to now go and put the structure. If INEC itself says you don't have your structures, all the structures are, the people, their tenure is over. They have new congresses, elect new people. That's what we want to do.
But are you aware, sorry, I need to just, butt in here, that on the INEC website, and this is why I looked at it yesterday, I wonder if INEC has changed it,
I'm looking at it
since
again.
that time, that on the INEC website, it's still clearly and boldly written that Julius Abure, based on court order, is,
Yes. And
have you raised that issue at all?
No, we've raised it. We've raised it. But INEC, like all government institutions, they have their own system of doing things, the bureaucratic way of doing things. So they have, I believe, systems and processes. So they are following it through. And at the end, when they are done, they would be able to take the decision to change it. And from what I'm told, they will need to have a meeting of the body of the whole of INEC to come together and take a decision and
decide. Now, to those of you who are not really familiar with what is really going on within that space, I can give you a bit of a catch-up, all right? In 2022, there were these Nigerians, obedient, who decided for the first time and the last time at the time to give Nigeria a shot, the Nigeria established system. They were demanding for a better Nigeria, at least a break away from the old and maybe something close to new. Then they were convinced because the system promised them to conduct the first technologically driven election. So they believed them. So they went on to register. Then they went on to campaign all over the place, mobilize, raise funds, organized. And on the day of that supposed election, the system, the establishment, changed the rules of the game. In the middle of the game, right? So majority of them were disenfranchised. They couldn't vote. Those ones who managed to, they watched it as a different result were declared. Some of them who were so confident that the technology, this technology, that technology, blah, blah, blah. They saw how corruption can actually ruin a very simple process. A beautiful idea that could, obviously, give you a working system. Not that you're going to get a working system right away, right? A working system starts from when people can actually choose their own leaders and reject them at will. You get that now? The free will to choose and reject. Once they take that away from you, you don't really have any country anymore. It was more or less like a concentration camp. That is why we call that contraption an open concentration camp, sort of. Then the judiciary didn't help. They watched the entire system, the entire establishment ganged up, right, against their supposed dream. Then somehow, some said it's because they didn't have any structure, even though they kept telling everybody that the people will build the structure. If they want something different from what they are currently being offered, then they will fight for it. That's the obedience, no matter how you see them, right? They strongly believe that a new Nigeria is possible. But who is going to give it to them? The establishment, the corrupt system, so rigged that even to be your own political party, you have this selfish, sort of like a rotten group of people who are the product of the system, unfortunately, who are sort of like resistance. I mean, they resist any form of change. So it's now going to be the battle that some will say battle of good versus evil. And it seems that is exactly how it is spreading, right? So if anybody really wishes to believe that Nigeria is practicing a democracy, you would want at least a viable opposition, because that gives the people the opportunity to, I know it doesn't exist in that place, okay? So it's like kill or be killed, sort of. It's not a democracy, okay? But within that same Labour Party, money, especially those members of the normal system, right, the old order, like the Arabambidiot and co, okay, they are not saying they are not bad. What they feel like they detest is to think that Peter Obi is different from them and all of that. So whatever any mud that they can sling, called mud slinging, they will continue slinging that. So that once this supposed opposition, you obedient, once you are unable to have a place to call yours, because if you ask some of the obedient themselves, they will tell you that they're not members of the Labour Party. And I remember then, I think it was in 2022, right, when they told all of you to go and join Labour Party. So many of you did join. And unfortunately, the drama that followed probably gave some of you the second thought somehow, but it continues. So the obedient believes that they have learned their lesson the last time, that if another election, if another election is held today, they would gladly kill to vote for Obi again. But the problem now is the establishment said they will never let what happened in 2023 happen again. They are doing everything right now to actually make anyone associated with Obi or obedient as a terrorist, as a terrorist. No joke. And that is why you are seeing that as many other people are pointing out all the failures, the shortcomings of this illegitimate regime of Kolu, they don't respond to them aggressively the way they will respond to you. Obi and obedient, it is deliberate. So where would you now have the platform to run against Tifnumbu when the likes of Arabambidiot and co are walking around the clock, Abure and the rest, to ensure that Tifnumbu wouldn't probably need to even campaign at all? Because it will end up being like, yes, there are people who could challenge him, but on what? Atifu's PDP is in tatters. Labour Party is almost like a drowning, and they have sworn to drown it. And those who are supposed to be the supposed partners in progress, somehow, they are now drawing their sword, telling you to go to another place, leave us alone. You know what I mean? And it is just about less than, it's actually less than a year and a half. No, it's actually less than a year before you start seeing posters and promises from the same mofos. Here is how this group sees Abure and this mess.
These are two different things, and there should be a reducible minimum in every setting we find ourselves in the society. And one of it is that we must have a standard we have set across board. Whether it's APC, PDP, Labour Party, or whatever, there should be an irreducible minimum. And the irreducible minimum which we want to entrench is that there must be party discipline. He keeps saying, you should not rely on that the court said that you should not fall back on the party to decide. Even at that, when he has been disqualified, he has no grip on the neck again, which is the next stronger organ apart from the National Convention. And the larger number of people in that neck are saying, don't rule us, don't be our chairman. We want this particular group of people to now function in this capacity. And you cannot in any way, I have to say this, the press, because I want you people to still be making this argument constructively. There is no way he can evolve himself, because telling him as the chairman, God forbid, to remain there and still organize the congresses and convention, then when he gets to his level, the other point, he will now produce himself as a chairman. Where can that happen? NCC will organize congresses from the ward to the local government, to the state, and national convention. Myself, Senator Nonadi, cannot in any way feature and function as chairman and secretary at the end of the day. That is the way it ought to be. You have to remove yourself completely and now organize a transparent election for your people. And that is the way it ought to be. So I think that has really answered most of the questions. Sorry you mentioned, Chooks, about punctuality. It's not our fault. We were still waiting and engaging. Most of the press people had they arrived, and because this is a press conference, everything relies on the press. As far as this meeting is concerned, it's more or less interaction with the press and the Labour Party. So we were waiting for almost all of you. And when we got the information that almost all the press people are here, we dashed down because we have a lot of respect for the men of fourth extent of the realm. Now, he said, what is INEC doing about uploading? What we have here in this hall today is Labour Party, and we have the press. INEC is a different institution. Bureaucracy is there. There must be a process they have to pass. We have done our own bit by going to them to tell them there is a court order, there is a judgment. We have presented it to them, and we know that it's not something that you just boil, just cook it and eat it immediately. They have different departments that will look into those things. The legal department will look into it, other departments will look. That's why they have all these departments. And at the end of the day, we are very patient. We are very patient, and we know that they're going to do the right thing. They've done right things before now in several fora. And we think they will still do the right thing right now. But we have...
Right. So they expect INEC to act on the Supreme Court's ruling on the matter. And it's quite straightforward, unambiguous. If there is any form of, primordial motives, like, or is it sinister? If you don't have any hidden kind of like an agenda, number one, right, from almost obscurity, because the last time they had, any real, and that was even like region. I want to say the last time they had any Labour victory was when Mimiko was their governor, wasn't it? Yeah, in Ondo State, I think. Do they have anything after that? Have they? I don't think so. But from that almost obscurity, right, you just came to like almost number one in that contraption. But unfortunately, you didn't have enough, you didn't have enough tools or enough weapons to neutralize the establishment, unfortunately. So to Obi and his own team, it's like they have figured out that the Jeon-Jeons, they call this, this Jeon guys, will take them nowhere. So they want to build a Labour Party in their own way, which this one feels like they will be shortchanged. And therefore, allegations are flying left, right, and center all over the place. So, those of you who are preparing for 2027, Abi, the whole drama, you may possibly end up with no party. But here is something. They are talking about a coalition, right? which is also the coming together of strange bedfellows. Of course, it depends on the way you are going to see it. That's the way I see it. Because to them, like in 2015, something must be done now to rescue Nigeria. If something is not done now, all of us are going to die. Do you understand? But the coalition won't have any real grip. It won't have any real credibility without Peter Obi. I don't care how you feel about that too, because it's true. As you can see, almost every one of them, it's like a dragging or attaching themselves to him in such a way that you will think this whole coalition talk, right, is somehow like it's been built around him. That's the way I see it. Because from so many sort of like a droplets of information we have sort of picked up here and there over time, right? So you can easily tell that it is, I have done a program on that, by the way, right? Because that was my theory, still my theory. And what was that? With this drama going on in this Labour Party, Peter Obi and his group, they would have no choice, right? Similarly, Atiku and his own group in PDP, with the way things are as well, right? They would have no choice as well to move. El Rufai is already on the move. So by the time they pull all these names together, right, the least they would then do is that, oh, you know what, we are just going to go and do primaries for the interested ones, and Atiku will get it. Around that time, half of you, the obedient, you will lose interest. You're not interested anymore. Because Obi can't go to anywhere again to say he wants to go and be a candidate anymore. He would have to support wherever the coalition is. So half of you, if not a third of you, will be like, I'm not interested again. And whatever is left will be what everybody will now use to face a call. It's my theory. And by that, at least Kolu won't face Obi. Because I don't know, something tells me that the only person that Tifnubu won't want to face again, not to avoid any form of revolution in Nigeria, I think it's going to be that Obi. Like, you don't have to agree with me, but if you look around, it is more or less like there's a special project Obi on Tifnubu's desk. Do you understand? Like, they'll just say, Minister of Darkness, come. Here is your workload, right? See as heavy as it is. And you see, this is like 2,000, this is like a 1,000 page book, right? 1,000 page. You will think it's about the development of electricity in Nigeria. By the time the minister opens it, right? You will realize that only the last 2 pages actually talks about electricity. And guess what? There is no plan. Just tell them about electricity. Tell them that we are going to give them solar. We are going to give them 20,000 megawatt of solar energy. Tell them we are going to give them 500,000 megawatt of power, megawatt of electricity supplied by gas. Just promise them. Last 2 pages. But you see these 998 pages is about Peter Obi. I'm not joking. Every one of them, every single one of them, whether in our social media they employ him to be doing propaganda, whether they employ him as a direct minister, near BPA to minister, here you get on social media, everywhere, on TV, everywhere. Now, don't pretend that you don't know that. So that makes me feel like the only person, even though you see that most of the time, right? The way they come for him is to diminish him. Do you understand? Like, they diminish him so much, like he's like nothing. He's a failure. You know what I mean? Like, with the passion they always go about it, right? Despite the fact that the internet is there for them to see his success and his failures. All right. without sentiment. They have them there. But the level, it has gotten to a stage whereby I think it is a serious obsession. Like, no, not just obsession anymore. It is like a project. If you have not noticed it, that means you have not been paying attention. Is the one everybody says he can never be president. I don't see him becoming your president. And it is not because, you know, he can't be a good one. I mean, I can't tell anyway, but I'm not saying that